Welcome to my beginner's guide to the Flagship. The Flagship is the final boss fight in FTL, and it is very challenging. In the community, we often see new players getting stuck on the Flagship and finding it impossible to beat. If you are getting frustrated by constantly losing to the Flagship, this is the video for you. I will explain everything you need to know with a simple strategy that you can easily copy. This video is full of spoilers. I would not recommend watching it unless you have already reached a point of frustration. Even if you have already seen the Flagship, there may still be major spoilers. Okay, let's start with some context. Unlike most of my guides, this is a real game. I played through the game on easy, and now I'm about to fight the Flagship. I am playing on Advanced Edition. That way, I can show you how to deal with the Flagship's hacking and mind control. However, I've avoided using any Advanced Edition items on my ship. So if you're playing with Advanced Edition off, you can still copy my setup. Let's take a look at our ship. Of course, we're using the Kestrel because everyone has that unlocked. And the first thing I want to look at is our systems. I filled up all my system slots, as I said in my beginner's guide. Systems win games, and we will be seeing that today. Now, the systems I've chosen are Teleporter, Cloaking, and Drone Control. That's partly because these are the only systems you can get if you are not playing with Advanced Edition. But also Teleporter is very strong against the Flagship, as we will see. So our strategy revolves around using the Teleporter and Cloaking to keep us very safe. Drone Control, to be honest, it's not necessary, but it's really nice to have. You could certainly replace this with Mind Control or Hacking if you had Advanced Edition on. The next thing I want to draw your attention to is our weapons. The Burst Laser 2 is a starting weapon, as is the Artemis, so all that I've added here is a Hull Laser 1 and a Hull Beam. Now this is deliberate. These are not bad weapons by any means, but overall this weapon system is quite underwhelming. I could have had much stronger weapons. If I was playing for real, I would have had much stronger weapons. Thinking back this game, I could have bought a Burst Laser 2, I could have bought a Burst Laser 1, I could have bought a Heavy Laser, so that probably would have been my final weapon setup. Burst Laser 2, Burst Laser 2, Burst Laser 1, Heavy Laser, and I also could have had a Pre-Igniter. So if you can get really strong offense, then definitely do that. I'm not suggesting minimalism, but I wanted to show you that you don't need it. The luck that you get with weapons in stores, especially as a newer player, if you're not used to maximizing your opportunities to buy stuff, it can be quite variable in this game. So all you need is something that works. You just need enough, and this is enough. The Artemis, by the way, is a very good weapon as well. It's just not great against Phase 2 of the Flagship, as we will see. But basic weapons. And the point here is that while weapons can be quite random, systems are really not that random. There are not very many systems. In fact, if you're playing with Advanced Edition off, that's all your options. So you will always be able to find these. I guess while we're here, I might as well look at the rest of the stuff in cargo. The Defense Drone 1 is generally useful throughout the game. It's very helpful to be able to shoot down missiles. Can also be useful against the Flagship. Beam Drone 1, a bit more niche really, but this is nice against Phase 3 of the Flagship. The augment really isn't that important, but again, this is one of those things which is just quite nice to have late game. This is good in Phase 2 against the Flagship. There's a little bit more safety. Maybe we'll see that in action a bit. But really, none of these things are actually required for what we're going to be doing. Okay, let's head back to the upgrade screen and take a look at our system levels. Obviously, this is not a realistic situation. I wouldn't normally have 877 scrap just stored up sitting there. But I wanted to show you my thought process for upgrades before the Flagship. The first thing to notice is we have 3 shields, and that's fine for most of the game. You can beat the Flagship fairly comfortably with 3 shields, but I'd highly recommend upgrading to 4. I know it's 180 scrap, but it's some of the best scrap that you can spend for the Flagship. And then other things that I might start to look at as priorities Oxygen level 2, I've already got that. I think I got that from a discount event. That is a good upgrade for the flagship if you don't already have it. We'll talk about that later. Teleporter level 2 is something we're definitely going to need. We'll talk about that later. Piloting level 2 I've already got. This isn't that important even for the flagship, but it is quite nice. Don't be fooled by those numbers on the right hand side, by the way, 50% and 80% evasion for level 2 and 3. That doesn't actually mean that I get 50% dodge. What it means is I get 50% of what I would have had if I had a pilot in the room. So this is only when you leave the room with your pilot. The reason for getting this upgrade is you can take a point of damage into piloting and you don't lose all your evasion, and that can definitely be pretty good against the flagship or even earlier in the game. Doors we already have at level 2, that's fine, but you know, if I have spare scrap it's quite nice to get them up to level 3 for phase 3, but won't do that just yet. And then actually the next most important thing would be, after the shields, would be a weapons buffer. And that teleporter upgrade. So we don't have enough weapons power to use this, but it means we can take a point of damage into our weapons and all of our weapons are still online. And then engines level 4 is actually plenty for the whole game. It's fine for the flagship as well. We have trained crew, so we'll have 100% evasion during Cloak in most circumstances. However, if you have the scrap to spare, engines 5 is really nice as well. I really don't recommend going higher than this. I'd stick to engines 5 unless you just have scrap that you want to dump and you've got nothing better to do with it. We will need some reactor upgrades as well. I would just look at how much reactor you've got before you start upgrading it. You can run lean if you need to and if you have the micro skill to do it, but I'm just going to upgrade a bit for comfort, see how I feel. Don't want it to be too taxing. Ah, what the hell? Do I want that? I think I'll run like this. This is like a reasonable amount. I should actually just grab that, but I want to show that you don't need all of the things in order to win, and you don't need all of the scrap. So actually this is pretty much fine. What I am going to do, which I wouldn't recommend at all, is upgrading sensors so that we can see what's going on even if our sensors get hacked. I want to be able to see inside the flagship. It's not actually important, but hopefully it will help you follow what's going on a bit better. And then stuff like medbay, not really that important. Yeah, you can heal your crew faster, but kind of so what. Drones, a buffer point could be nice, but as I said, we're not really that reliant on our drones, so you could leave it out. And of course, you should be spending this scrap. So what I should be doing is stuff like that, maybe that. I guess maybe engines, a couple reactor. I should get this. That's barely useful. I don't know, I could get this, maybe this. It just doesn't really matter though. So we're gonna run with this. Oh, I guess I should point out another couple of things here. We didn't look at the cloaking system in terms of upgrades. You can get by with level 1, and honestly it will do most of what you want cloaking to do anyway, which is just to dodge stuff. But actually these upgrades are very good. They're underrated by a lot of people. We'll see that when we fight the flagship. But what I'd recommend at least is getting the level 2 upgrade, because that gives you a damage buffer. Meaning that if you take a point of damage into your cloaking, you will still have cloaking available. It's really useful to keep your cloaking working so that you can stay safe in the flagship fight. And then the other point I wanted to make is that a lot of players may be looking at this and thinking, how do you have so much scrap? How can you afford all these upgrades? Well, this wasn't even a game that I was optimizing. I've got the teleporter, but I didn't even use it yet. I couldn't be bothered. Like, it's just too much hassle. I wanted to blow up ships and get the game done. So if I'd been using that, I would have got better rewards, maybe more free weapons and stuff. I have nearly 400 scrap, and I have comfortably everything I want. So if you're not able to upgrade your ship enough, like, you can be missing, say, that buffer point there for 100 scrap or something, but if you're not looking anything like this, then it really means there's something else going wrong early in the game. You need to look at how to get a bit more scrap out of the game, maybe how not to spend huge amounts of scrap on repairs. Take a look at my beginner's guide video, and if you can get to the flagship with a properly upgraded ship, it's going to be a whole lot easier. Okay, let's go fight the flagship. The first thing I want to do is have some borders in the teleporter. So we'll go like this. This NG does actually have weapons training, but it doesn't matter. And jump to the base. Alright, let's take a look at the flagship. This is phase 1 of 3. And you have to defeat all 3 phases in order to win the game. Something you should know right from the start is that you cannot win just by killing off all the crew. You must reduce its hull to 0. That's how you win the game. If you kill off all the crew, then it will actually become an automated ship. And it has, in phase 1, a cloaking system and a hacking system. This is a 10-second cloak, this is a 10-second hack. It's going to send out a hacking drone. Now, we could use a defense drone to try to shoot that down. I'm actually not going to. It's generally better not to. And I'll explain that and go into more detail about how you deal with hacking after we beat phase 1. But here comes the hacking probe. Let's see what it hacks. It hacks our medbay. No problem. In fact, the only hack that matters at all here is shields. The flagship is cloaked for 10 seconds. It decloaks. And then I'm going to jump in with 2 of my crew. Let's take a look at the weapons. So these are artillery systems, technically. They are independent weapons rooms. So the flagship does not have a centralized weapons room where you can just direct all of your fire and like switch it off. Each of these operates independently. If you want to stop them firing completely, you have to destroy the system. If you damage the system, they will fire more slowly. From left to right, we have a triple shot ion weapon, a triple shot laser weapon, a triple shot missile weapon, and a 2 damage beam. So this is basically a halberd beam. This is the one that you really need to worry about the most because it goes right through your shields. They're only 1 damage missiles, just like these are only 1 damage lasers. These are only 1 damage ions. But this is the thing that can cause you the most problems. So we jump straight in there with 2 of our crew. Worth noting that you can use any 2 crew as long as they're not both NGs or an NG and a Zoltan. So if we sent these 2 crew, we might have a problem. The Zoltan might actually die. But we're going to send Farb and Farb over here to board into the missiles right away. And they'll start punching down that crew. The lasers are firing. And then the missiles are going to fire. And we can use our cloak. I could use a cloak at level 1. That would be absolutely fine. But I don't need to. In fact, I don't even need my weapons at the moment. So I'm just going to do a cloak at level 3. Cloaking will delay all of these weapons. They are not charging while we are cloaked. It just buys us more time. We should also get some more crew in there. A human and an NG would be fine. So let's jump into the ion weapon. We go for the missiles first because they're the ones that just pass straight through our shields. These other 3 weapons can actually hurt you through 4 shields and decent evasion. They don't tend to do a lot, but the main one to switch off next is the ion weapon. Because that can suppress your shields for longer. And actually I should really be moving this Zoltan into engines, that would be more useful. But it doesn't really matter. Remember, you can pause. We could also, you know, fling an Artemis missile over there if we want to. So we've destroyed the missiles, and that means for this phase of the fight, they are never coming back. I'll wait for this, I think. This is the priority. Actually, I could bring my crew back. How do I want to do it? Yeah, sure. You have to be a bit careful with the hacked medbay because it does potentially kill your crew. There's fancy ways you could work around it, but I'm just not going to. Something to note is the level 2 teleporter is 15 seconds cooldown, which means we got 2 batches of crew onto their ship before the second cloak. And now we can just use our undamaged crew to board into the beam weapon. In they go. And I'm actually going to cloak that. If all 3 of these shots hit, then this can still do us damage. But not for much longer. Okay, so at this point, with 3 shields, we are completely safe from the flagship. Now, if you wanted to, you could try to kill off all of the crew in the main body of the ship, but that's not really something that works very well with the setup that we have here. They have this level 3 medbay, there's a lot of crew, they have fully upgraded doors, so realistically, if you try to do this, you're probably just going to lose some of your crew. It is technically possible. I could do it without any weapons at all, although the medbay hack makes it awkward. But it's quite technical, so we're not going to bother. Also, I want to show you how to defend against the boarders in phase 3 later. We're going to bring our crew back, and now we just patiently destroy the ship. Let's have some oxygen on our ship as well. And here you can see there is a bit of a weakness in our setup, that we needed all 4 of those shots to hit in order to deal any damage with the hull beam. But that's fine. We could use an Artemis as well, but there's no need. They literally cannot hurt us. I'm going to turn it off. Okay. Maybe just go for hull damage. The flagship in phase 1 really does not have much evasion. It's 20% if they have both the engines and the piloting manning. Level 2 engines. Oh, I was wrong, by the way. I miscounted. I said that we needed all of our shots to land. We only need 4 out of 5. That's still not ideal. And that's it, phase 1. The only way that that can possibly go wrong is if you get a bad hack, and the only bad hack would be a shields hack. Even then, you'd probably be okay. But we'll have a look at how to deal with hacking now instead. Okay, so I've reloaded the save, and we can take a look at what happens if you deploy the defense drone. The Flagship has 10 drone parts, so it is possible to shoot down all of them, but there's a pretty good chance that one of them will get through. And it's actually most likely to be piloting here, because this whole area of the screen is too far to the right, and the defense drone will not be able to shoot that. That is a known bug with defense drone targeting. However, it's not just this right-hand part of the screen in piloting that can be hacked. That's the most likely cause of the drone missing. But there's also, I believe, a 10% chance that it straight up misses any hacking probe at all. There we go. See, that was within the targetable area and it just missed. So this could be your shields, it could be your weapons, it could be less important systems like engines or piloting, of course, it could be teleporter. And you might say, well, why does it matter? Because if you don't deploy the drone, then, well, you're getting hacked anyway, right? However, there is a difference. If you put this thing up, then it can shoot down several hacking drones before one of them gets through. And that means that you've changed the timing of the hack. And what you'll find in practice is that all of the bad hacks get a lot worse if you delay them. So a shields hack, for example, on the first volley of the Flagship weapons, it really doesn't do very much. Your shields are typically, up to 2 bubbles when the lasers are hitting, and they're up in time for the beam. Whereas if you delay the shields hack, then there's a pretty good chance you get smacked by the beam weapon. Similarly, a weapons hack is really bad if you delay it, because it will be offset from their cloak, and that means that when they're cloaking, your weapons can't charge, and then after they finish cloak, they'll be hacking. So you can get into a position where you can barely use your weapons at all. And indeed, all the other hacks in general just get worse if you delay them. So that is why I would generally recommend you do not try to shoot down the hacks with a defense drone. Better to play the odds, play it safe, and avoid the worst possible situation. Now, what if this was actually our shield system? What should we do then? I should have cloaked then, of course. Well, we should just jump away. It says up here, turns until the base is destroyed 3. As long as that number is not saying 1, then you can jump away. Oh, before I do, by the way, this right here is one of the reasons for upgrading your oxygen. So you can see they're draining our ship of O2, and it will actually drain completely in a while, except that we can put another power in here, and it will refill faster than the hack can drain it. Let's just see that. Oh, I can cloak. So you see, apart from the breach there, we're up to full oxygen, so this doesn't really hurt us. Anyway, imagine that was a shields hack. We can just jump away, preferably to somewhere safe. If it's not a safe beacon, you might have to consider the danger of the beacon itself. And then, of course, I would want to repair this. And then we jump back to the base. It's saying 2 turns remaining. And then, of course, they could hack your shields twice in a row. There we go. Obviously, you shouldn't have jumped. Oh, no, it's cloaking. But it's much less likely. So you might as well re-roll the hack. There's really very little reason not to, unless perhaps you're jumping to a dangerous beacon. So if you are starting from the base, as we were, unless you were intercepting the Flagship earlier, you only get 1 re-roll on the hack. So really only jump away if it hits a critical system. In our case, it would only be shields. Because now it says 1 turn remaining. If we jump away, we just lose. The game is over. Doesn't look like it, but there you go, game over. I also wanted to show you how to deal with a teleporter hack. And this one is a little bit hard to explain, so just bear with me. First issue, of course, is that, oh look, I didn't have my crew ready in the room, So we actually have to break down some doors. The hack is preventing us from teleporting at all until it's over. Now it's over, we can put power in the system. And we're going to board just to show what will happen here. Actually, let's board on level 1, because this is actually the reason, or the main reason, I upgraded the teleporter. What's going to happen is that when they hack us again, it will pull our borders back. At least it will if the flagship isn't cloaked. So they're going to stay there for a little while. But the hack is going to last beyond the end of their cloak. And now our borders have come back. Not only that, but it puts the teleporter on cooldown. So essentially, when they hack your teleporter, it locks the power in there and it uses your teleporter to retrieve your crew. That's why it's gone on cooldown. And that is a bit of a pain. I'm just going to fling an Artemis missile and try to take these out another way while I'm demonstrating. So now they're hacking us again. Notice that because we didn't use the teleporter and there were no crew on the enemy ship, that hack didn't actually put it on cooldown. It didn't use the teleporter. So what we're going to do now is use a level 2 teleporter. Because, oh dear, that was a bad idea. I'm probably going to lose my crew there. Because the cooldown on it is shorter than the hack cooldown. And what we can do then is take the power out of the system. Now what's really weird here is that if you take the power out of the system, the hack will fail. Or if you want to be really precise, you actually have to allocate the power somewhere. Sometimes if you have free power in your reactor, then this hack will still work. And I don't know the exact circumstances. But we'll see our crew is not getting pulled back even after they decloak. The hack was still active. It's not doing anything. And we'll see it again. So why don't we just break their cloaking as well? Okay, no power in the teleporter, no free reactor power. This crew is not getting pulled back. As it happens this time, if I free up reactor power, it's still defeating the hack. It's fine. But yeah, that one's a bit confusing. Summary: if you get hacked in your teleporter, you have to wait for the hack to be over. You then have to use a level 2 teleport or level 3. And then after your teleport comes off cooldown, remove all the power from it. And just to be sure, also make sure that you don't have any free reactor floating. Put it into other systems. And that will prevent their teleport hack from bringing your crew back. A couple more things to mention about this fight that I forgot to mention previously. One is that if you are playing without Advanced Edition, so you see I'm on easy with Advanced Edition. If you are playing without Advanced Edition and you are on easy, then instead of having 4 shields, the flagship will have 3 shields. And that's a huge difference. It makes all 3 phases a whole lot easier. In any case, you definitely want to plan around having enough firepower to get through either 3 shields or 4 shields, depending on which setting you're playing. And that means that you need to be able to account for them getting some dodges. You're not going to hit every single shot that you fire. And you need to consider that this missile is not good in phase 2. And then one last thing to notice is that they have 2 crew here in cloaking and doors. It's possible, depending on how many systems you damage, that you might pull them away into the main part over here. But if we kill the flagship when these 2 crew are over here, they will die, and that's going to be really helpful for later. You could even try to get some of the crew kills like shooting here, but we're just going to keep it simple. Oops. Right, there we go. These two crew are now dead. That doesn't work on hard difficulty, by the way, which is one of the reasons I forgot about it. Okay, let's go fight phase 2. But wait. You could go fight phase 2 now, but what I recommend you do is hit the wait button, and we'll see why a bit later. We're just going to keep hitting wait until the flagship jumps back to us. So its behavior is after you beat it, it runs away, it spends a moment licking its wounds, and then it comes back to try to destroy the base again. So we click wait again. And by the way, we do have 2 boarders already in the teleporter. And now it's coming back to us. Okay, here we are. Now, as you may have noticed at the end of the previous fight, the left wing dropped off when it ran away, and that means the ion weapon is gone. It has reconfigured itself. The cloaking system is gone, the hacking system is gone, but it does have a drone system, and that's because this is the drones phase. So what we want to do right away here is jump into the missile room. Notice there's no crew there because we killed them off before. And it's really important that you jump in right away. Don't wait at all, because if we go now, then these missiles are never even going to fire. Now it's also going to launch a boarding drone at us, so you want to deploy a defense drone as soon as possible to shoot that down. That being said, I'm actually going to switch it off because I want to show you how you can deal with a boarding drone if you don't have the defense drone available, or maybe it misses or something like that happens. So here it comes, the boarding drone is going into piloting. That's quite annoying. What do I want to do? I could pull weapons or shields or engines. We're a bit low on crew, by the way. It'd be nice to have a few more, especially with the boarding strategy. So we can send crew to help out. A big thing to know about this boarding drone is that it might seem to do a lot of damage, but it really doesn't. It only does the base damage of a human crew member. It has 150 health like a rock. But, you know, in normal circumstances, Farb and Farb would easily be able to take this thing on. The problem is the breach. That will let all of the air out the room, so quite soon they're going to be taking suffocation damage. And against the 2 crew that the boarding drone is fighting, that breach, the lack of air in the room, will effectively quadruple its combat damage. And what you can do to prevent that is open a bunch of doors, internal doors, not the airlocks, just the internal doors, and then put your oxygen up to level 2, and that will pump enough oxygen in from the other rooms to this room so that it never actually runs out of air. And then these 2 crew can take on the boarding drone really easily. We have an Artemis missile, but notice they have a defense drone as well. So their drones are the boarding drone, the defense drone, they have a combat drone, which breaks a single shield layer, and a beam drone. They will also have some more, as we'll see in a moment. But if I fire my Artemis missile, it's just going to get shot down. Notice this room is not running out of oxygen. We should probably be shooting at them, but I'm not even going to bother right now. I mean, we should definitely be shooting at them. Just want to show you how this phase works. By the way, you can switch the positions of your crew in the room. So I'm paused, I send them both out of the room, and then I send them back in the order I want them to go. You can look up videos on this, but basically like that. The first tile to be occupied will be the one with the console, and then after that it's top left, left to right, top to bottom. Now, if you just heard that noise, that is the power surge detected warning. That means in 5 seconds there's going to be a power surge, and this is a special attack that the flagship has on phase 2 and phase 3. Each of those is different. On this phase, we have a massive drone swarm. That can be quite dangerous. See, we destroyed the boarding drone. The number of drones is lower on lower difficulties, which is one reason for playing easy. So we're going to get 4 additional drones. Now, something that's really important to know is that if you destroy the drone system, it will switch off all of the regular drones, so the defense drone, the boarding drone, and one of the regular combat and beam drones, but it will not stop the power surge. There is nothing you can do to stop these extra drones. They will keep coming. And they come every 20 to 30 seconds randomly each time. And notice that our shields just got taken down, so I'm going to do a nice long cloak. Again, I really should be shooting my weapons. We'll bring our boarders back, but I'm just trying to demonstrate how this phase works. Here comes another boarding drone. Here's another power surge. Now, this is a useful opportunity to explain how the power surge timing works. As I told you in the previous phase, the long cloak is delaying these weapons. They haven't charged at all since we hit the cloak. But it has no effect on the timing of the power surge. That means the longer the cloak you use, the more likely it is that it will not be ready in time for the next surge. So there is some risk involved in cloaking like this. Here comes another boarding drone. I wanted to show you another way of dealing with the boarding drone. Went straight back into piloting. If we do a single point of damage into the drone system, the boarding drone will switch off. And then with the doors open and oxygen on, we're completely fine. Not taking any damage. By the way, if you wanted to, you could board into the beam weapon on this phase. You could even board into the laser weapon if you want. Normally what you should be doing is trying to kill phase 2 as quickly as possible because it can be dangerous. But I'm hanging around just to show you how defenses can work well against it. And also notice how fast our shields are recharging. That's because we have 4 shields. Actually the third and the fourth shield recharge faster because we have a fully trained crew in the shields room manning it. And also we have that shield charge booster, which is giving us an extra 15%. Oh yeah, I should put my shield on. So what you can use as a tactic against the power surge is wait and see how bad it looks. And you can pause very carefully. And then just use cloaking if it looks like you're going to take damage. So this is the kind of thing I would actually be doing when dealing with a power surge. And if it does look like you're going to take damage, you might want to use a level 1 cloak, as then the total time before the next cloak will only be 25 seconds. Also, if you use a level 1 cloak and then fire your weapons, each weapon that you fire that is not a beam will cut your cloak time by 20%. So we're going to fire 3 weapons right away. In fact, we can fire the Artemis as well. We found a use for it. And that means our cloak time will be cut by 60% right away. But you can see we're actually quite safe. And we can deal with all the threats here. It just blew up my defense drone. Okay, we got through the whole beam. Let's start killing the flagship. Swap our crew around. Where's the console? Click that first. Again, you can look up a video on this. There's a good one that Twinge has. You can even just run crew into the med bay and swap them with other crew. I'm watching to see if they're getting through with any of their shots. Oh, I could have got hurt there. Could have taken a point of damage. So another approach you could take to deal with the power surge here would be to wait until it starts, and it's going to last around about 6 or 7 seconds because each drone will position for 2 shots and then disappear. And you could just hit the cloak button. And then it's very likely that your cloak will be available for the next one. And here you see the weakness of our Here you see the weakness of our weapons, that they're not getting through the shields on phase 2 very reliably. Phase 2 does only have 25% evasion though, so it's not a big deal. Let's just go for hull. I will note that the drone swarm does get a lot more dangerous on hard difficulty, especially because there's 7 of them. I actually don't know what the optimum beam swipes are on easy. I see I can get 8 if the shield didn't cut me off. You see this combination of max shields, decent engines, trained crew is really keeping us quite safe. Whoops. We'll get there. Hang on. Yeah, we shot their lasers out of the sky. Jeez. Oh yeah, why don't we put up a defense drone and stop dealing with the boarding drone? Shut it down. Let's go heal Farb and also Farb. We shot down the defense drone as well. Oh, we could use the Artemis missile, right? And they're dead. So, very casual sloppy play, but again, with the right setup, you're really not at much risk. And especially if you know how to deal with the boarding drone. Alright, before we fight phase 3, let's go upgrade our doors. That will definitely be nice to have. And I just want you to notice that because we fought phase 2 at the base, the flagship is jumping away again, and that means we're going to start by fighting the flagship away from the base. Off we go. By the way, I don't have any crew in the teleporter this time. You'll see why in a moment. So this is phase 3. Again, the right side has dropped off, meaning that they've lost the beam weapons. However, the 2 remaining weapons are upgraded, which means they fire faster. In particular, the missiles were firing every 17.25 seconds before, but now it's every 11.5 seconds, and that makes them a significant threat. The other big issue here is that, as you can see, it has this giant green Zoltan shield. This is actually a 12-point Zoltan shield. Normally, Zoltan shields are only 5 points, but we have to do 12 damage to this green bar before we can hurt the flagship. That also means that we can't use our teleporter. The Zoltan shield will block teleportation. Unless we had a Zoltan shield bypass augment. That would be really good, but it's only available in Advanced Edition. Anyway, this is the boarding phase. It's reconfigured itself again, so it doesn't have any of those previous systems. It doesn't have cloaking, it doesn't have hacking, it doesn't have drones. But it does have a teleporter. And they're going to board us very aggressively with almost all of their crew. So they sometimes even send the pilot. But in any case, they're going to send a lot of crew. Notice that they only have 5 crew in the main body of the ship. They started with 7. Remember that they lost 2 crew from that dropping off of the cloaking indoors area in phase 1. So definitely worth trying to get those 2 crew kills in phase 1 if you can, as it's a lot more manageable going up against 5 than 7. The other thing they have here is this mind control. This is level 3 mind control. Let's see it happen. It mind controls a random person, and they become quite a beast. There's no other ship in the game that will hit you with level 3 mind control. It lasts for a really long time, 28 seconds, and they do double damage to crew. So as everyone could have predicted, Farb was in fact the traitor. And we're going to have to defend against this. If you have mind control of your own, then you can just immediately use it, even at level 1, to cancel this completely, and that's great. You do want to do that before enemies board, because if they board into the same room, then you might not get your crew back. You might get one of them instead, and that's really bad. A bit more information about phase 3 here. It has level 6 engines. It has a lot of dodge, so currently 38% evasion, that's a lot. But let's get started. How are we going to handle the mind control? We actually don't care about it that much right now, but we can vent them out and move the mic into oxygen or something. The boarders will always try to join them if there's space in the room, which is kind of worth knowing. But the other thing I should mention right off the bat is that I'm not even going to try fighting the flagship here. I could deploy the beam drone, I can shoot their Zoltan shield. But what we're going to do is kidnap their boarders. So we're going to make it a 2-stage operation. And yeah, I'll actually let them beat on the weapons, just because then these guys are not an issue at all. So here come the missiles. A lot of people save their cloak for the power surge, but in general I don't recommend that. The missiles are actually more dangerous. And there's a reasonably good chance that if you use a level 3 cloak, you'll actually cloak the power surge as well. We're going to see the power surge in a bit. But I'm just going to do a big old cloak. An advantage of this is that it means my engines are charging. I'm buying more time for that. If you'd fired your weapons, then your weapons will be charging as well. These missiles, they're not charging at the moment. And here comes the power surge, that's the warning. This time round, the power surge is not a bunch of drones, it's a barrage of laser shots. They're just 1 damage lasers, 7 of them. It's not actually that dangerous if you have like 4 shields and decent evasion. But as you see, we dodged the power surge as well. That is luck dependent. The cloak could be done first. And now they've boarded us with another 2 crew. And we're just going. Bye. That breaks the mind control, of course. And now we can just kill off their crew. Okay, I just wanted to go back and show you how to handle the situation where your pilot gets mind controlled, because this is pretty annoying. This is quite awkward. We've lost most of our evasion. We still have some because of the level 2 piloting upgrade, but we're not charging your FTL either. So we really need to deal with this. And you're not really going to be able to fight them head on. They just do too much damage, and the enemy crew are also going to try to join them. But what we can do is vent them out. Turn off oxygen as well to vent them out faster. And just like move crew. So I've moved another crew into the room with our mind controlled crew member. And as soon as you do that, you get all of your evasion from your engines back. The only thing you're missing is the manning bonus. That's 10% from the pilot themselves. But we're considered to have a pilot in this sense, as long as we have friendly crew in the room. And you'll also notice that our FTL has started charging again. Just look at where the borders are coming as well. And then as soon as this room is empty of air, you need to move your distracting crew out. Because otherwise they'll actually stay and fight until their health gets low. And then we can close this door. They'll walk right through it. We can refill our ship with oxygen and swap in another pilot. So we've lost a bit of FTL charge, but not too much. And we've got a pilot in the room to dodge the missiles. Oops, need to move you. And they're in a system that doesn't really matter. One other thing that I forgot to mention is that the power surge actually does change on the 4th attack. For the first 3 power surges, it's the laser attack. And then on the 4th one, it fully recharges its Zoltan shield. So we'll just see that in action. I'll speed up the video. Here comes the 2nd power surge. And the 3rd power surge. And now the flagship is going to recharge its Zoltan shield. There we go. And that pattern will repeat forever. So every 4th power surge is a full recharge of the Zoltan shield. Okay, we killed off their crew. The thing to notice about this is that because we were fighting the flagship away from the base, we were able to jump back to the base. And the base is always a completely safe beacon unless the flagship itself is there. It will never get overtaken. Whereas all these other beacons are overtaken, you could technically jump away from the base and deal with borders there, but you'd be fighting a rebel elite. So we don't really want to do that. And now the flagship is jumping back to us. Our crew are in positions, we're ready, let's go. And all we have to do now is kill it. This time, I'm going to load up the beam drone. Beam drones are pretty good against the Zoltan shield because they always hit. Mind control and sensors. Okay, that's nice, I can basically just ignore it. And we'll fire all our weapons. They actually did board with the pilot. Interesting. No, you stay there. Beams also do double their base damage against Zoltan shields, not the beam drone 1. That has a beam that is too short. Okay, here come the missiles again. If you want to optimize, you try to cloak them at the last minute. And I'm going to do the same thing. Nice long cloak. We dodge all the missiles. Their Zoltan shield is down. And I'm going to hold my cloak now rather than firing my weapons, because it would be nice if we get to dodge the power surge as well. Looks like we won't though. Don't really care about the sensors damage there. Okay, so at this point, you could go various ways. You could just try to end the fight quickly and go for shields, but what I'm going to do is try to take down their missiles, as once those are down, the fight is basically over anyway. We could board, of course, but I don't think I need to. Can also go for reducing their mind control. Okay, and now we're very, very safe. 7 shots against 4 shields and 45% evasion. Can line up with this as well. And at this point, there's no real threat. You just need to kill it. Can't reach there. This is fine. And now that they don't have the missiles, you can use the cloak exclusively for the power surge. And that means we could actually cloak every one if we time it perfectly. The easier way to time it is a level 1 cloak when they fire. And they just can't hurt us. We're getting pretty good hits here. Something I should remind you about, by the way, before we finish, is Phase 3 especially, they do have a lot of evasion. Not right now, of course, because we're playing on easy, not hard, and they don't have a pilot. And it's still not an automated ship, there's a crew in there. But in general, you want to be prepared to deal with them. Whoops. You want to be prepared to deal with them getting some dodges. And that's it. Thank you to our valiant crew of Farb, and Farb. I couldn't have done it without you. And hopefully that video gives you everything you need to know to get your first victories against the flagship. I do want to emphasize that this is not the only strategy that works. In fact, it's not even the best strategy. It's something I would almost never use anymore myself, playing on hard and playing on advanced edition. There's lots and lots of different ways that you can beat the game, even reliably. Any of the systems are good. Hacking is particularly strong if you're running advanced edition. More offense can be very strong. But this is a very simple and reliable way that I hope is going to work for you. Actually, let's take a look at our score. 2,360 scrap. That's a decent amount of scrap, but we are on easy. I mean, it's a lot of scrap, but we are on easy. I don't even know how high that is. I think that's actually about average for easy. And as you saw, we had 400 scrap to spare. So yeah, hope this was useful. Let me know if you have any difficulty following it, or need any of this stuff explaining if something wasn't clear, and good luck taking down the flagship.